Hey guys, it's PlazmaScream, and today we are going to be using a very cool character with one of the most OP passives in the game. And this is a character you can actually get yourself in the store at any point. And the character we are going to be talking about is Man of Steel Superman. And believe it or not, this guy right here is actually really good and one of the best characters in the entire store. And I'm gonna go ahead and get some matches going so you can see why. Alright, let's get this going. Okay. I do have Shazam, but I think I can one-shot him. Alright. So I'm not gonna hit him just yet. I'm gonna tag in, I'm not gonna block, and then special one. There we go. Now watch this. I can actually use this Astro Barrier to farm power if I want to. And I can just sit there and spam these. And if my passive activates, I would get free power. It is 30% chance, so it's not going to happen all the time. Okay, that guy's got like some defense gears on. Maybe like less gears. I was trying to get the passive to work, but it's 30% chance. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, you can't force it. I'm sure it'll happen once this video. Okay, not once this whole match. It'll happen. It's just being what's that word? Just the F. Fickle. That's it. Doesn't want to do it. But when it happens, I can talk to you about it. It's really amazing when Tainted Totem. Okay. Heavy combo. There we go. So watch this. Look at my power. Boom. I went from 2 bars to 3 bars. Okay, now it works. Look at this. There we go. Now we're getting our power. Now watch this damage. Boom! 274,000 damage in one hit. That's going to one-shot anybody. Anybody. So you saw there, I was initially at 2 bars of power. And then I got the passive to activate, and then I got the KO, and I got my power refund from Tainted Totem. And that basically gave me free power. So first, the passive activated before the special was over. Now, this is fun. I might actually be able to get power here, too. Okay, I'm actually going to farm him a little bit. We're going to intentionally do this. There we go. Okay. Well, I had 2 bars, but I lost them. But I can try to get some more here. Block. I can try to get some more from this Astro Barrier. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, that's annoying. I don't know why it's not happening, but I tagged out in a great moment there. Block. And special one. And you have totem. No, you don't. And I'm just gonna knock around basics. But it doesn't want to happen versus the Astro Bear for some reason. But it can. So if somebody has like a John Stewart shield or an Astro Hunter shield, you can just spam a special on that barrier, and if his passive were to activate, it would give him free power. Basically, whenever Tainted Totem has the ability to give power refund, either because you got a KO or you got you did a special when you did 0 damage. When you get the passive to activate at the same time as the Tainted Totem power refund, it will give you free power. I am just being unlucky right now. It's just not one to do it versus the barriers, but against everybody else, it's like, here you go. See what I mean? There you go. And there's free power, just like that. And this team is done for. And I'm just gonna finish the fight with Pusher 2 because I like seeing the big numbers. Boom. Yep. And she had some kind of damage reduction set up there. She took less damage, but still over 200k easy. Okay, next match. Okay, we're already on match 5, despite me messing around in these matches and just trying to hit the shields. You can see how fast he is here. Like, I'm messing around, and we're still doing very well. Okay, this guy is going to be easy. Alright, there we go. This is what I want to show you, right here. Watch some power. Boom, 3 bars. Now, watch this. Watch this, watch this, watch, watch, watch. Boom! One shot straight through the Astro Barrier. Who needs Claw Horse? Not me. Do not even need to tag in my support. I just one-shot him. That right there is Man of Steel Superman. He is one of the coolest characters in this game, in the store. Nobody uses this guy. You can see right there what he's capable of, what he can do. This is a legitimately amazing card, an amazing character. And you guys have been sleeping on this guy for as long as he's been around. You know, he used to be really good because before like Tank Totem and stuff was introduced, you could like just use a super move and potentially get his passive activate, and it would give you 3 bars back. That doesn't happen anymore, but super moves are not that relevant, so that's fine. But then actually, he got even better once they introduced Tank Totem, but nobody ever realized it because nobody ever thought to actually use this guy. You know, because you look at him, and at first glance, he might not actually seem like he's that crazy. Like, he only has base 800 damage. You know, mine's 1100 because I max damage augmented him. You know, he has 1200 HP. Normally, having higher HP than damage is not good, especially 400 more, so a little bit of a disadvantage there. And, you know, his passive, you know, you would compare it to Tandy Totem, but, like, Totem's already in the game, so, like, oh, why would you use him? Because if you want that passive, you could just use someone with Totem. No, 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 no. Use him with Totem. Use both of them together. And you see right there in those matches what it does. You can utilize Tanty Totem to farm power. Whenever you get a KO, if his passive activates, you get free power. You basically turn into Arkham Orange's Batman. You go from 2 bars to 3 bars if the passive turns on. If you see someone who's got a John Stewart barrier or Astro Harness barrier, you can spam special ones on the barrier and attempt to farm power. As you see, it doesn't always work, but it can. It can. And even if you wanted to, you could do like a heavy combo, like you're trying to chain special one from the heavies, intentionally fail so that it's not going to chain, and try to do that to farm power if you needed to. But this is really, really good because, you know, a special one carry, they are going to be using one-hit specials. If somebody has a resurrection, they're going to survive it. Like if you're fighting a Blackest Night team, normally a typical special one carry would have trouble with a Blackest Night team with special ones. They would have to rely on, if they had a multi-hit, multi-KO special 2, in order to break through those health bars and resurrections and be able to take them out. With Man of Steel Superman, this is a character that only has one-hit specials that can actually easily take out a Blackest Night team. Because if they resurrect, you know, at any point, you have a chance to get your power back from his passive. And if you get any KOs too, another chance during that. Like whenever you just use a special, you're constantly getting chances to use to get his power back. And you could basically just never run out of power versus a Blackest Night team if, you know, you just keep using specials. Like you're gonna get that to activate eventually. And you'll never really have to tag out and get more power because he's just constantly getting fed power from his passive when it activates. And it's also good if you're fighting like a Batman Nightwing team, because he would normally power drain a special one carries power after they get a KO when the next opponent tags in. But if his passive activates when he does that, and he gets his power refund, he will basically not have any power lost, or not have very much power lost to that Nightwing, which is really nice because normally a special one carry, uh, if they go for that special one, they get a KO, they get the power drain. Now they only have like 1 bar, and if it's an evolved Nightwing, they might have less than that. They might not have any power left. They might be in a really bad spots. Especially if it's like a carry Nightwing, he's got totem and stuff. And so they got no power, he's got all the power, and then now you're, looking in bad shape. But with Man of Steel Superman, he could get his power back. And if you really wanted to, you could if it's an evolved Nightwing, you could try to farm power against an opponent and intentionally do 0 damage. And then once you have 3 bars, then get the KO. And then by that point, you will have, if it's not evolved, you really won't have lost any power. And if it is evolved, I think you'll still have 1.5 bar, which means you still can do a special one. So this guy just does not care about normal things that could give a special one carry a very hard time. Being Blackest Night teams and the Resurrections and a Batman Nightwing team. And the same thing if you're fighting a Batman Catwoman who's going to get rescued. When you force the rescue, you do not get power refund from Totem. But if she, gets rescued and then he gets his power back from his passive, then you're fine. Then you don't end up losing the power, which is great. Same thing if you're fighting a Arcanite back row team and they have an Arc character in the lead slot, and the back row is going to rescue. And this is the cool thing about a one-hit special, or just a really strong, individual hit of a special. If it does enough damage to one-shot them from the amount of health they have, you will get your power back from Tandy Totem. So that could happen, and then also he could have his pass turned on, so then he can get a bunch of free power from that rescue. Now, for the team that we use today, we have, Mass Death Guard, Totem, League of Assassin Knives for Superman. This is the special one carry setup. You should use it almost always for every special one carry. Almost always. And then I have Bronze Lex Luthor as a tank, just for a little bit more damage. You could use somebody else. You could even use Batman Prime. I don't think he needs it, because as you saw in those matches, he is doing very, very good damage. So I just want a little bit more damage. I didn't, need a whole lot. So that's why I went for Bronze Lex. He's got the Astro Harness and 4th gears to be at the tank. But he is mainly here for this passive right here, the 15% more damage. And then I have Arkham Knight Harley Quinn. This doesn't really matter too much who this is. I picked her because in order to get 90,000 team power, which is what I wanted for this team, I needed a team of around these stats. So I was going through my characters to see who would fit this team and give that amount of team power, and I landed on Arkham Knight Harley Quinn. And she's not even a bad support either, because if her passive activates when opponent tags out, not tagging out after KO, but just tags out on their own, her passive could turn on, and she would just get fed a lot of power from her machine gun. And so that, as a result, has great synergy with Claw Horse and Enchantress, letting her do 2 back-to-back special ones and potentially apply a bunch of DOT and Gear Shatters with Claw Horse. Let's go helmet. And the helmet is just for number 1, better defense. So if she's got to block special, she can, and because she doesn't necessarily have to worry about power. If her passive activates, that's going to give her power. So you could use Ibis but helmet is safer. And again, you don't have to run power generation, because her passive basically gives her the power generation. So that's why she's here. And another cool thing here is, like I mentioned earlier, when you're fighting Arcanite back row team, or a Batman Catwoman team, or even a New to Shazam, any kind of team where you can't immediately KO somebody and they're going to get rescued, or they're going to tag out because of something happening, she can counter that tag out by activating her passive and just lighting up the opponents with the bullets. And if it was going to be a scary opponent tagging in, let's say a Flashpoint Aquaman who's got the carry gears on, or Batman Nightwing, same thing, or an Arcanite Batgirl who's got all the scary gears on, she could interrupt their tag in with the machine gun, and then give you the time you need to blast them with a special before they can even touch you. So she's actually very nice to have on this team, and really good for a special one carry, because those characters are really annoying to fight. So that is the team here. I do believe that you should have this team around 90,000 team power, and you should have Superman at Elite 9 if you're going to use it as a carry. I don't believe you should make him Elite 10. That's way too much stats. That makes him have like over 100,000 health, which I think is way too much. You do not need that much health. I have like one character that even has like 100k. That's my AO Deathstroke. That's like the only exception. I wouldn't make that for anybody else. So if you're going to use this guy, make sure it's around, kind of what I'm doing here, around 90,000 team power. So what you're going to see is on the last match, 13,800. That's how you know it's 90k right there. But another cool thing I like about Superman is, as you saw in that last match, they had an Astro Flashpoint Batman. And what promotion was he at? He was Elite 9, and he had 107,000 health. And I completely one-shot him, It would normally be very difficult to bypass an Astro Harness user with that much health. Like, even if you have a really good one-hit special, it would still be very difficult to just completely one-shot him without even touching him. Like, you could maybe, like, chip him down to where he's up a little bit above 50% before that next barrier activates and maybe get the bypass then. But he didn't even need that. He just one-shot him from the get-go, just right away. So I don't normally like a one-hit special 2. I think they're bad because if somebody resurrects, you lose all of your power. It's one thing if you're special 1's at one hit, but as special 2, it's one hit. It's really bad because, if you get like power drained by Nightwing or Raven or a Black Knight character resurrects, then you've got all your power lost and you can't keep going. Then you got to waste time tagging out and all that stuff. You got to come back in later. But with Superman Man of Steel, because of his passive, he can not worry about that stuff. He can get the power refund or his passive activating and not even worry if they survived or resurrected, anything like that. So honestly, I kind of like his special too, and also the fact that it just does so much damage. I mean, I think the number is like 277,000 damage or something around there. Like, that is easily going to one-shot anybody. Like, that's going to one-shot even some Batmans that are outnumbered. Now, if they have, like, damage reduction gears and maybe even, like, some HP increase sources, it might not, especially if they're, like, pretty high promoted. But that's rare, like, against a lot of them, you might want straight up one-shot him. He's going to one-shot even metal characters from full HP. So that is really cool. I really appreciate that. And, as you can see, no Astro Harness user is safe. You don't have to even go into Harley Quinn if you don't want to, or whoever your support is. You can just rip that special 2 and blow them up. And it's so satisfying to see that. Like, that was really, really cool to watch that happen. But that is all I can tell you for Man of Steel Superman. This is a very cool character, and I am very glad that I augmented him and I gave him a chance. I had a feeling, a little while ago, I was thinking about him. I was like, why am I using him as a support? Because you can use him as a support, and I did used to use him with Noof 2 Wonder Woman, with Claw Horse, Ibistic, Enchantress. And it was really good, and that was a really cool team. But I have since replaced him on that team with a different Superman. And, I got to thinking, what if I made him a carry? And he's actually really sick as a carry, and that was a really good idea that I had. And I'm glad I could, share this guy with you guys, and hopefully you're willing to give him a chance too. I don't think he'll let you down. I think this is definitely one of the most fun characters in the whole game. He's been a blast to use. I'm very happy with myself and this guy. Also, this is just a personal thing. I love the Man of Steel movie. I love Henry Cavill. When that movie came out, I was just like enamored with him, and so this is also, he's got a special place in my heart. So this was a special project for me. But thank you guys for watching, and I definitely appreciate you coming to watch this. This awesome character just tear all these guys up. And I will see you guys in a few days to cover the next challenge character, which is Luchador Bane. So stay on the lookout for that. But thank you guys, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.